Hello, this is Alexis, and today I'm going to continue the EUC World app tutorial, focusing this time onto the wheel option, since I have covered the other settings in a previous video. I have decided to make a separate video on the wheel option because these are settings that are going to impact the riding experience majorly, so I wanted to make sure to have a short but impactful guide. I hope it will be useful, but now, without further ado, let's get started. Let's connect our wheel with the Bluetooth onto EUC World app. Let's click onto the top right hand corner of our mobile phone, Android, not iPhone, because there is still not a compatible version of this app out yet. The founder, Sebastian Labosky, announced that he's working on it, so hopefully soon that will come out for iPhones as well. Moving on from the top, we can see General, and then let's click onto Wheel. On here, we are right onto Light. I have opted for Persistent Light mode as I keep my lights on regardless where riding, as it makes me more visible on the road. However, I do tend to switch it off when I'm riding off-road, unless it's dark and I need it. Next, LED mode doesn't apply to Master because the Master doesn't have any LED lights. Speed alerts and alarm. These refer to the manufacturer alarms and not to the customizable ones that we find in the alarm section. These is strictly dependent on your EUC brand. In my case, I have a Bigodi Master. I have switched the first and second alarm off. I have them all off because the first alarm, I think, starts at 15 miles per hour, and the second one is around 35 miles an hour, but I don't remember exactly, I'm really sorry. In any case, I've turned those 1 and 2 off because it will not turn off the 80% default alarm, which is the most important and the one that I suggest everybody not to ignore, in order not to risk to overpower the wheel and get into a cut-off situation at high speed or overpower. I would suggest to listen to the beeps. Next, choose the speed limit that you feel comfortable with. Remember that if you have Bigodi wheels, this will not tilt back at high speed anyhow. Only Motion and Kingston offer, I think, this wonderful feature. In fact, personally speaking, I would have loved to have that extra safety feature, since it might not always possible to hear the beeps. Next, it is a very important part in order to make the best personalized use of your wheel. Under Other, we find Riding Mode. Bigodi calls it soft, medium, or hard. Strictly speaking, this is how much pedal assist you'd like from your electric unicycle. Typically, road riders and carvers use soft or medium mode, whereas off-roaders use hard. Remember that there is no wrong or right on this choice. It is a matter of what feels best to you. I have learned on hard mode. I always use that mode because I prefer off-roading. To me, in that context, the wheel feels more responsive, which is what I need. However, one of my learning goals for 2023 is to learn to ride with the other modes as well. Anyhow, with the soft and medium mode, the pedal will tilt forward when accelerating and turning, while backwards when braking. On soft mode, the degree of pedal assist is more than on medium mode. On hard mode, the pedals stay upright, so it is much more body input that is needed to initiate the turn, acceleration and braking. However, the advantage is that on hard mode, there you see it is more difficult to overpower, and also it is more responsive to movements. What I mean is that, for instance, on soft mode or medium mode, if you brake and then suddenly accelerate, the pedals will take a few more seconds to move from backwards to flat, then again forward. Whereas on hard mode, this action is more immediate. since the pedals tend to stay flatter. Moving on. Display mode refers to the selection of a metric system in kilometers or imperial system in miles on the wheel display. In my master, for instance, this mode changes the kilometers per hour into miles per hour and the total number of kilometers into miles, or vice versa, on the actual display of the wheel. Calibration. That's another interesting but very useful feature. This allows to tilt the shell of our EUC either forward or backwards. As a side note, I must say that, unfortunately, Bigode doesn't support pedal tilt, which is a simpler but more refined feature, which only moves the pedals instead of moving the whole shell. All the other EUC manufacturers, InMotion, Lipperkim and Kingston, support this extra calibration system. But since I have only masters now, I will focus on how to use this feature on the Bigode system. First of all, why we might need this? Well, a slight shell backwards lean can help avoid pedal clipping on off-road riding, as the pedals will be tilted backwards slightly, so it will take longer to move down to the ground. On the contrary, if you'd like to maximize acceleration for road riding and you have a road tire so that the gyroscopic effect will help prevent pedal scraping, then it might be advantageous to tilt the shell a few degrees forward. For instance, I have used shell backward tilt on my XN. Not be able to rely on exact degree system, I had a few hit and miss before I settled to what felt right riding on it. But when I had my Sherman Max, I used a couple of degrees pedal tilt backwards. The procedure, it is quite straightforward. Follow the exact instructions from the app and it will work. In any case, I will try to make a separate video on it, so stay tuned. Moving on. Lateral tilt limit is another useful safety feature, very important to understand properly. By default, our EUC will cut off at 45-degree sideways tilt angle. Why? Because if we have an accident, fall, drop, the EUC will stop to spin automatically once it detects that it has leaned at a 45-degree angle sideways. And why is this important? Well, imagine the wheel lands right next to your leg or face and keeps spinning until it cuts off. It is quite dangerous. Moving forward, beeper volume is my favorite feature from Bigode, which I really wish Kingston and Lipperkim had too, the ability to decide how loud the beeper is. As a side note, I will say with beeper, I mean when the wheel is turned on and off, all the other beeps, but the 80% default power alarm will not be turned down. All the others, yes, but not that. How do I know? I tried it. I use my beeper at 1 or 2 maximum because I don't like loud noises and I don't need the wheel to beep loudly when I turn it on or off. To me, it's just annoying, especially for instance, if my flatmates are still sleeping and I need to turn on the wheel to go to work, then I just don't want to wake up the whole house. However, even if I have the volume set at 1 or 2, I can still raise the wheel, make it spin until it cuts out, and I can hear the alarm, 80% alarm, beeping very loudly as it should. So the latter still works properly. Finally, I don't mess about with the advanced features since I do not understand them enough to do so, but if you're interested, the EUC World website has a guide with an explanation for every single element of the app. For this video is all, hope you enjoyed it. Ciao ciao!